And so all is set now for us to hear from our guest of honor, Ghana's Minister of Communications and Digitalization. In the wisdom of the government of the Republic, it has decided to add on digitalization after our efforts here over the years as CEOs, business leaders, and influencers in pushing this agenda of digital transformation. It gives me great joy to welcome the Honorable Ursula Owusu-Ekuful.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I deem it a great privilege to be invited to speak before this august gathering of chief executive officers and key decision makers from the most renowned business entities in our country. The theme you've chosen for this summit, digital transformation, powering business and government reset for a post-pandemic economic resilience, a public-private sector dialogue, is truly relevant considering the times in which we find ourselves. As people in charge of the management of various business organizations, the pandemic has demonstrated to us all that the transformation of our businesses through technology and indeed of the economy at large is the only way to survive, ensure economic growth, and the resilience of our businesses and our economy. Of the many lessons that the pandemic has taught us, one stands out: that the world is transitioning to a virtual way of living, and our ability to adapt to innovative ways of doing things is of cardinal importance to our survival. Be it in the way our employees were required to work, communications with our clients, the delivery of our products or services, and even in the fulfillment of legal and regulatory requirements. Digital technology has played and will continue to play a key role in ensuring business and government continuity. The world will never be the same again. Many of the interventions rolled out by this government since taking office in 2017 proved fortuitous, as they were pivotal in the amazing successes we chalked in the management of the pandemic and the resilience exhibited by both the public and private sector. It's as if we anticipated the upheaval of traditional infrastructure and systems caused by the pandemic and had been preparing our response. Since 2017, the government has tirelessly rolled out numerous initiatives aimed at formalizing the economy through technology. Key among this is the e-government project, which has witnessed the implementation of technological systems and platforms such as the paperless port system, e-procurement, e-justice, Ghana.gov digital payment system, mobile money interoperability, the digital address system, the smart workplace virtual office platform for the public sector, and many others. And an example of how these interventions have helped us in our current life is a simple illustration that I want us all to consider. Let's contrast the 2013 election petition, where electronic evidence was rejected by the Supreme Court, and the 2020 election petition, where even court processes were served electronically and evidence was given remotely. We've come a very long way indeed. Over the course of this pandemic, we've noticed an increase in the adoption of various technology-based tools by our people, from food vendors who adopted technology to reach customers and make deliveries. I got into trouble by advertising my favorite waakye joint on my Facebook page, Tunga Waakye. I still insist that it's the best, so if you haven't tried it, please do so. Our schools, including universities and basic schools, which went online and provided blended learning. Young people were providing grocery and other essential services through various mobile applications. Our telecoms regulator, the NCA, had to issue additional spectrum to network operators who had begun to experience congestion on their networks as a result of the increased usage of telecommunications services as our citizens adopted new usage patterns. Various digital applications were introduced to manage contact tracing and facilitate the safe opening up of our country from its lockdown. One of these solutions is currently being used by the African Centers for Disease Control in its Trusted Travel Scheme to verify and authenticate COVID test certificates and ease the frustrations faced by air travelers as the aviation sector regains some semblance of normalcy. That Trusted Travel Scheme is powered by Panabios mobile application, which was developed by young Ghanaians, and I'm very proud of it, understandably. In addition to these, the digitalization of our land registry is on course. Passport applications, I'm sure many of us will heave a sigh of relief at that, judging by the frustrations we face with our land tenure systems. Passport applications are now online. Renewal of the National Health Insurance Scheme via the mobile phone has been a phenomenal innovation, with an average of 70,000 renewals every week online. Paperless port has reduced the duration for clearing goods at the ports to less than 48 hours. We've also launched a new single digital payment platform, Ghana.gov, to provide a single point of access to apply and pay for services of ministries, departments, and agencies of government. Benefits of this system include growth in government revenue collections, as it's reduce the leakage of government revenue into unauthorized pockets, deepening expenditure savings, and helping our fight against corruption by reducing the human interface in the administration of public services. It is working very well. Happy to announce that government is using its purchasing power to grow digital entrepreneurship and businesses. And examples are the National ID, which was just presented by Professor Tefa, the Digital Address System, the Ghana.gov payments platform, which were all developed by Ghanaians, procured by government, and are world-class applications that are working very well. Ghana also launched the flip side of digitization is the increase in cyber crimes. And so cybersecurity has to be of utmost importance to all of us as we increasingly move many of our systems onto digital platforms. So we've prioritized cybersecurity since we took office in 2017 and launched the Safer Digital Ghana campaign in 2018 to create awareness amongst children, the public, businesses, and the government agencies. We've also ratified two important international treaties on cybercrime, cybersecurity, and data protection. The African Union Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data Protection, known as the Malabo Convention, and the European Union Convention on Cybercrime, known as the Budapest Convention. Ghana is only one of 3 countries which has ratified both conventions. The key to effectively managing data exchanges and preventing cybercrime is the comprehensive legal and regulatory framework protecting this space. And so we've enacted the Data Protection Law in 2012, and the Cybersecurity Act was passed in December last year to guide our digital governance environment. The modest efforts we've undertaken in cybersecurity has won commendation from the international community, from the Council of Europe, which has recognized Ghana as the hub for cybercrime capacity building in the English-speaking ECOWAS region, to the World Bank, which has commended our formative developments in cybersecurity and provided support to consolidate our modest gains, and the World Economic Forum, which has also identified Ghana for a public-private partnership on cybersecurity. In ECOWAS, we are the champions for cybersecurity and are leading this effort. As part of that, by the way, and the Vice President alluded to that yesterday, We will register all SIM cards and SIM-enabled devices from next month. And when the exercise ends in December this year, all unregistered SIMs will be blocked. We must clamp down on cyber criminals hiding behind the anonymity of digital systems to commit antisocial acts. And this exercise is a key part of that campaign. Our inability to do that in the past has largely been as a result of the lack of a secure identity document to verify the identity of those who would register those SIMs. Thankfully, because of this government's emphasis on powering our national electronic ID project, that is now behind us, and we have a secure document with which we can verify the identities of every Ghanaian. The Companies Act, Act 992, 2019, now allows for electronic transactions in your dealings with the Office of the Registrar of Companies, from incorporation through payment of fees, submission of annual returns, filing of documents, and many other transactions can all be carried out now electronically, creating a convenient environment for your businesses. Key to improving our ease of doing business is also the establishment or implementation of a cashless, which might seem a bit too ambitious, or a cash-light economy, which is doable. For businesses to thrive and be globally competitive, we need to have effective digital ways of making payments and reduce our reliance on cash. So far, the use of payment systems and platforms facilitated by the Mobile Money Interoperability Framework and the digital infrastructure we're putting in place, created by telecommunications and digital financial services operators, signals a step in the right direction. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't have a meaningful discussion of the efforts being made at digitalization without a reference to the national ID card, otherwise known as the Ghana card. But I will not even comment on that because a full presentation has just been done. Efforts are underway to make it the sole identity card for all identification and business purposes. A single user card to reduce the duplication and waste and frustrations that we face in the sector. National ID cards are now being used as tax identification numbers from the 1st of April. The same number is also on course to be used as SNIT, health insurance, for SIM card verification, for opening of bank accounts, and for procurement of other services. We will link all our databases and make it easier to access, retrieve information from those databases, and to analyze the data and utilize it for planning purposes. We're working on improving access to connectivity across the country with our Rural Telephony and Digital Inclusion project, which will see the construction of 2,016 solar-powered cell sites in unserved and underserved rural communities across the country, in recognition of the fact that we can't leave anyone behind in our quest to digitize our economy. Every Ghanaian must be connected to the knowledge society unfolding before us. All these interventions I call the silent revolution, because we take them so much for granted, but we can all testify to the fact that they have improved our communications, business-to-business communications, business-to-citizen and government-to-citizen engagement. But if we implement all these digital systems and have to procure the services of expatriate consultants and service providers to manage them, what would we have done? We would have shot ourselves in the foot. And so we need to empower our youth with the digital skills that they urgently need to thrive in the new world of work, as traditional jobs are lost to the opportunities created by emerging technologies. We must manage and operate the systems that we're putting in place and developing and procuring. And our young people must be assisted to step up to the plate. Robotics, connected devices, Internet of Things, machine learning, artificial intelligence, which is powering telemedicine, e-learning or blended learning, autonomous devices, driverless cars are almost here. They all present challenges and opportunities. We must be ready and are working assiduously with the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service to ensure that our young people can also be active participants in the fourth industrial revolution. The African Continental Free Trade Area, the world's largest trade area by number of countries, has a goal of establishing a single market for goods and services across 54 countries on our continent, covering a potential market of 1.2 billion people with a combined GDP of 3 trillion. It will be powered by technology. Without digital platforms, applications, and services would ensure the harmonization of standards, regulatory frameworks, e-commerce, seamless payments and settlement systems, amongst others, it will remain a pipe dream. Digitization is the only way to ensure free trade across the continent and to create an enabling system for trade financing using electronic means. In order not for businesses in Africa to miss out on the opportunities presented by the African Continental Free Trade Area, you will all have to employ new technologies in your operations or step up and enhance the use of the technologies that you currently are. Digitization, we all know, also increases transparency and accountability and reduces corruption considerably, as technology reduces the opportunities for the human interaction in the procurement of goods and services. The elimination of corruption in all its forms, and particularly in doing business, continues to be a core concern of government. So we're moving from rhetoric to action and putting in place the systems and processes which will actively address this canker. Ladies and gentlemen, I can only assure you once again that it remains a resolve of government to support the transformation of our entire economy, and more importantly, as the future started yesterday, we have to play catch-up. Consequently, these digital innovations will continue to be the order of the day, and as you all know, we have to adapt or we will die. As the Sector Ministry for Digitization, and the change in the name of the ministry was not done lightly. It's in recognition of the fact that we need to develop our digital infrastructure, processes, and services in a coordinated, coherent manner and build interoperable systems and break down the silos which are preventing us from reaping the benefits of the digital interventions that we're putting in place. So now I make it my business. When I hear anything E or anything digital, I will poke my nose in there, because now that is my mandate. We will continue to provide the enabling environment and the necessary facilitation for the growth of this environment in which we are all working. The foundations, the systematic development of the foundations of our digital economy and the governance space provide ample testimony of our resolve. And we're confident that you, CEOs, and the entire business community will partner government in this and work with us to build a country that will be the envy of the sub-region. My goal is to make Ghana the go-to place for all things digital and all things IT in our sub-region. And we are well on the way towards getting there. Challenges exist, not least amongst them being attitudinal change, protection of turf, and our desire to work in our own small spaces, creating silos and hiding behind those walls. We recognize those challenges, but together we will surmount them. I thank you for this opportunity and for your kind audience, and I wish you successful deliberations.
Man, a round of applause. Ma'am, in time-held tradition of this house, oftentimes when a guest of honor comes, we like to engage. The president was here, the vice president was here yesterday. We engaged with him for a brief while. If it pleases you, we would like to have some comments from the floor. So please, if you're here with a comment, a suggestion, a question for the Honorable Minister and the sector, please raise your hand. I'll come to you with the mic and you proceed.
Great speech.
Good morning, Honorable Minister. I wanted to find out, with respect to the re-registration of SIMs, it appears that Ghanaians, for example, will not have difficulty in the registration process because we would have had the Ghana ID. What could happen to non-Ghanaians who are resident and will need to necessarily have a SIM in order to transact businesses in the country? So what will be the alternative arrangement for non-Ghanaians who necessarily must register to get a SIM?
Non-Ghanaians who are resident are also required to acquire the non-citizen ID card. The offices of all the district offices of the National Identification Authority will be open for business round the clock from the 1st of June. And so we're timing these processes and making it easy for everyone to do so. Now, for visitors who are not residents, who enter the country, they will be required to register their SIM cards with their passports, like we do when we travel to other jurisdictions. And so, if you're a resident foreigner or non-citizen, and you've not registered for your Ghana card, please do so. You pay a small fee for that. And I'm sure together we can work to make this a success. I thought you were going to ask me about those in our rural areas who also have to register. But we're making provision to send it down to every corner of this country to facilitate the registration, using the network of agents that the mobile network operators have, and using our post offices and community information centers as well, which are dotted around the country. So we're working out the modalities currently, and that's why I couldn't be with you yesterday, because we had a meeting on this very matter. The technical solution is being finalized, and there'll be a comprehensive or extensive public education campaign prior to the commencement of this exercise. We take it seriously, and this time we have to make it work. Previous ones have failed, and we will make it work. So a question was posed yesterday as to whether we would allow new activation of new SIM cards alongside the re-registration without ID cards, and I said no. All new SIM cards must be procured with a proper verifiable ID card, which is a national ID card. Otherwise, you can't use that SIM card in Ghana.
One more clarification, Madam Minister. Okay. I wanted to find out about the infrastructure bit. In our conversation yesterday, we realized that infrastructure will become a key deployment requirement for the expansion of ICT in our country. So I wanted to find out what is the policy direction of our country in respect to making sure that in the remotest part of our country, the required infrastructure is available for the telcos to leverage on to deploy technology across our country. Thank you.
I did mention that we're in the process of constructing 2016 cell sites across unserved and underserved communities in this country as part of our rural telephony project. Now that network is being built by government as shared infrastructure for all the network operators to utilize, to extend services to the remotest parts of this country. We use that also as the basis for the national roaming that has also been mandated. So just as you can roam on other networks when you travel outside this country, when you go to a part of this country where your network provider has weak connectivity or is not existent, your phone will pick up the strongest signal available there, which is what we are calling the national roaming. And that should also be operational by the end of this year. So through that extension of rural telephony and extension of implementation of the national roaming exercise, we hope to extend connectivity to every part of this country. There will still be a few black spots. Now, the rural telephony project is to provide both voice and data, unlike the previous ones, which were 2G and so provided largely voice connectivity. This one would have data functionality as well. And it is energy efficient, and the cost of deployment is saving us about 60% from the cost of traditional cell sites. And happily, that technology was also developed by Huawei in Ghana, based on the pressure we put on them to develop a cost-effective, scalable solution. It's 2G and 3G enabled, but it's scalable to 4G. And it can be linked up to the LTE network. So we're hoping to provide seamless connectivity across the country to facilitate the provision and usage of digital goods and services.
Thank you. Great initiative. Digitization is good for the country. I just would like to find out, is the government planning to create a technological hub where they can produce the technological products? Because without it, the digitization cannot be commercialized.
We've started already. And if you visit the Accra Digital Center, it's a mini tech hub, but it's spanned about 40 different companies since it started its operations in 2017 and created significant jobs. Ghana has one of the most active technology innovation systems on the continent. We have about 26 tech hubs currently, but concentrated in Accra and Kumasi. We want to replicate the Accra Digital Center model across the country with mini technology hubs spread across the country. I liked VRA's presentation of their smart city concept. We're actually partnering, what's the name? Mauritius, to develop one at Dawa, which is next to the industrial village that is coming up there. We've procured land there to do that. COVID made it difficult to access funding for many of these projects globally. And so that has stalled that initiative a bit. But under the Ghana Cares program that is being rolled out by the Ministry of Finance as well, building technology hubs and promoting digital skills acquisition for our young people is key to job creation. And so that's also going to be factored in under that program. So we're looking at the establishment of similar facilities in Takoradi, in Kumasi, in Tamale. Land is already available. Now we already have regional innovation centers which are largely inactive across the 10 regions. And we're going to activate those two and start the innovation hub concept from there, using funding from the Ghana Cares project. So we're looking at that space as well. There are opportunities for the private sector to partner government in that as well. So if any of you has some spare cash, let's look at how we can work together in a public-private partnership model to see how we can reinvigorate this space as well. Thank you.
Our last question comes from Emmanuel Bini, who's come all the way from the Federal Republic of Nigeria for this.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the presentation. It's quite believable and inspiring. So my question is with regards to the AFCFTA, and I just want to ask if there is a plan to digitize the process, perhaps through a marketplace approach, where all MDAs are brought together to facilitate the integration of the Ghanaian market into the broader ACFTA initiative.
There has to be, as I indicated, without technology, this initiative will not work. It will remain one of the grandiose schemes of the African Union which never see the light of day. But we're determined to make it work. So I know that currently discussions are ongoing on how to harmonize product registration across borders. So if your product is registered in Ghana and you want to trade, send it to Nigeria, you don't have to go and re-register there because there's a single platform on which all our regulators are, and they can have oversight on the products that have been registered. The African Standards Organization is also working to see how they can standardize the products that are produced on the continent and ensure consistency in the quality of the products. You can't order one item today and the next time you place another order, it's the same thing, but it's different. And so that is also ongoing. We need to look at the platform on which we will trade, and it has to be an e-commerce platform. There are several e-commerce entities out there, all doing their own thing. But we need to have a continent-wide platform that everyone can plug in, that will provide security in terms of the provision of the payment systems and settlements infrastructure in there, and security in terms of the actual dispatch and receipt of goods traded on that platform. We need to be able to do that as well, and it's only technology that can enable us to do that. I was also asking the question in another forum that we have the Visa card and we have the American Express payment, Amex card as well. Every time we use that, we're empowering organizations and companies outside the continent. What stops us? And we have our digital financial services and banks in this room. What stops us from developing a uniquely African card or payment system to facilitate trade amongst on the continent? We have different currencies, we have different languages, but money, everybody understands the language of money. So let our innovators start thinking and planning and working on something like that, and it is doable. It will save a lot of money in transactions fees, or that money that is ending up in other jurisdictions will stay on the continent and enrich us. So it is only through digital financial services that we can even begin to have this conversation. Mobile money was developed on the continent in Kenya to meet uniquely African challenges. Continental Free Trade Area presents a uniquely African opportunity. Let's marry the innovation that our young people have to deal with our logistical challenges and come up with a unique product that will serve us well as we move towards full implementation of the free trade area. It is doable.
And so I ask the last question on behalf of all of us. We've been at this conversation since 2017. Ma'am, we just want to know what amount of the budget, percentage of the budget, has been allocated to all of this?
This industry is largely private sector led. And so many of the innovations are financed from the private sector. Government, as I indicated in the rural telephony project, is putting in excess of 100 million euros to do that. The Ghana Cares project, a component of which is based on digitization, is also in excess of $100 million. And so we're putting our money where our mouths are. Prior to the implementation of the rural telephony project, we were relying on the benevolence, if I may put it that way, of the network operators to extend connectivity to parts of the country. But they would only do that if there was a commercial imperative for that, and they would make a significant return on their investment. Not every part of the country has vibrant commercial activity which would enable them to make those profits that they were used to. And so government had to extend connectivity there. But the interesting thing about, we've done a pilot, and so the interesting thing about this is that once the service is available there, the people use it. And so even though they dimension it thinking that the capacity needed is small, that capacity is very quickly used up. And so rural sites are then migrated to commercial sites because it begins earning money. That's the beauty of the sector in which we are. Once the interventions are made available and people start using it, it boosts the local economies and generates revenue for everyone who dares take the risk in engaging in that. So government is hopeful that we've started, shown the way, created the systems. The private sector should take it up and run with it.
I will come back with a figure after I've consulted with in chambers. Once more, ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Minister of Communications and Digitalization, the Honorable Ursula Owusu-Ekuful. We thank you ever so much. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, I believe it's important that we bring the first part of today's deliberations to a close. Respectfully, I shall ask for a group photograph with you, our guest of honor, in the company of all our speakers and our convener, the CEO of the CEOs Network, Mr. Ernest de Graft Ejiri. Ernest, if you're here, please applause as they come. Honorable Minister, respectfully, I invite you, together with Madame Mansanete, together with Professor Atefa, the Chairman of the Board, just here, Lawyer Ernest Kofi Abochi, the Deputy CEO of the VRA. And so since this has been our life's work since 2017 up until now, I believe it falls to you, Ernest, to say a few words to our new Minister of Digitalization. What say you?
Hello. Thank you. Thank you all. Honorable Minister, we thank you so much. All speakers today, we thank you so much. Yesterday, we discussed the theme for which you were invited, because it falls directly under your ministry. Our call to action on the theme is for governments to consider having or passing Digital Economy Act. And your speech today falls in that. You have so many initiatives, digitalization initiatives. And we think that the CEO Network, CEO Summit, our call to action this year is that government and the ministry should look at having the framework, the legal framework, to put all this in it before we are overtaken by events. The second call to action was a request from the President of Ghana last 2 years when he attended the summit as a special guest of honor. He made an appeal to corporate Ghana to support the SDG fund. And so we have encouraged our members and CEOs of corporate Ghana to make that a priority in their financial plannings. We also want to assure you that the body of the Ghana CEO Network is supporting you in your initiatives, and don't hesitate to call on us for support. On that note, we'd like to welcome you, and at the same time, thank you so much for coming. Can we give it to the minister?
And so the first photograph, after which I shall invite all CEOs to please join.
Pardon me for talking too much, but with respect to the Digital Economy Act, we need a policy which the Act would give effect to. So we're currently in the process of developing Ghana's digital economy policy and strategy, out of which, if need be, the law would also emanate. And I urge all of you to take part of the stakeholder consultations which would guide the finalization of this process. Thank you.
All right. It would be remiss of me not to acknowledge the South African High Commissioner to Ghana, Your Excellency Grace Mason. Please, let's have you join. And right after this photo, I shall invite all CEOs to please join. Let's show solidarity as we welcome our first Minister for Communications and Digitalization, the Honorable Ursula Owusu-Ekuful. All right, so all CEOs, please, let's have you on stage. All our CEOs, respectfully, I invite you. We shall take one with our masks on and the second with our masks off. The last one with our masks off. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause. We thank you ever so much, our Honorable Minister